Hello and welcome to the Next 100 Days podcast. My name is Graham Arrowsmith.
And my name's Kevin Appleby. And we've got a lady who's just claimed that she's going to be the bright spot of today's podcast, Graham.
Yes, and she will be. I met this young lady in Orlando, in Florida, back in September. And I was just mesmerized with her. She has, I want to paint a picture. She has some shocking copper hair. She's very, very attractive, but she's married to somebody who could kill you. So you have to be very careful.
We're not married.
Well, all right, in a relationship. Yeah. Basically, anyway, the thing is, her name is Sharon Huckle, and she is the unstoppable stylist. Welcome, Sharon, to the Next 100 Days podcast.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure to be here, Graham, and Kevin as well. Graham and I met personally. Kevin, this is the first time I'm meeting him today, but it's already been a delight. We've been giggling already this morning.
Well, it is this morning for you, but whereabouts are you?
I'm in Canada, Ontario, Canada. So our weather's probably about the same right now. We're a bit colder maybe than you guys over there. Yeah. But it is 10 a.m. in the morning. So for me, which isn't too.
And
early.
You've got a full day ahead of you as well, apparently. But we're going to get into that because, if you're known as the unstoppable stylist, there's a bit of a giveaway there, isn't there? What is it that you do?
I'm a lot of things, but I am a salon owner. I'm a hairstylist, but I've also been a certified esthetician. I used to have a spa. I'm a makeup artist. I also run a boutique motel. And previous to that, the motel, we actually had a large food operation where we did catering and restaurants and food trucks and an ice cream company, an artisan ice cream company. So we've done all kinds of things. A serial entrepreneur, but things that have lasted a long time too. I don't just flip and flop. I've had the salon for almost 19 years now.
Wow.
So.
And this salon, or salon as you call it, and it's like salon, isn't it? It's like tea.
It's just not a saloon, okay? No,
it's
not a saloon.
So you don't sell alcohol in this salon? No. So obviously, mainly, I would imagine, ladies go in there and then you make them beautiful. Is that right?
That is the main clientele. I do have lots of loyal male clientele as well, and kids. I do, anybody, okay. Families, like. I like to get to know people. And some of my clients I've been doing for over 20 years. And I always joke, like some clients I've done both, they have their hair for both their weddings. So ours is true love. I've outlasted the men in their lives. So
wow. For both their weddings.
Yeah. I've done that on quite a few people.
You'd have got the skinny on the fact that they were coming out of the first one first, wouldn't you? Of course, because that's where it all happens, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of vulnerability expressed in the salon. It is a very safe space, but it's a lot of fun too. Yeah. So it's just a lovely atmosphere, really, for people to come to.
But it would be because you're in Canada, and everybody in Canada is really lovely.
I like to think so. Yeah,
very kind to each other. I mean,
one of my clients, or sorry, one of my staff, Caitlin, my assistant. When she started working for me, she's like, your clients are all so nice. And I'm like, well, of course they are. Why would they be anything but?
Kevin, you've probably got more reason than me to go to a hairstylist. Anybody looking at the YouTube version of this will be able to see at a glance why that's the case. But Kevin, do you still go to a barber?
Yes, I do still go to a barber. And my barber's quite entrepreneurial. She operates something called the barber bus. And she drives around all the local villages in rural Northumberland, and she comes to our village for one afternoon once a month and fills her diary full of appointments. So once a month, just after recording our afternoon podcast with Graham, I tend to end up going down to the barber bus and get my hair cut.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's a shame that you don't do it before.
Industry. It's an amazing industry overall because there's so many facets that you can belong to. And in my career, I've been very lucky. I've gotten to do almost everything I've wanted to do. I've done hair for New York Fashion Week. I've taught on stage. I've run a salon and a spa, trained many hairstylists and estheticians, written curriculum for schools. Like there's been lots of things within my career that I've done, and very privileged career. And it's a fun job. Like I always say, I get to chit chat and play with people's hair all day. It's pretty great.
But I found when we met in Orlando, I found you to be an incredibly good listener. Not that I was sort of boring you or anything. Well, I probably was, but the point is, you didn't show it.
All.
No, seriously.
If you work in a salon for 19 years and you've got all these people coming in, and generally coming in then not for the hairdo, but coming in for a bit of therapy, you get used to listening, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think I have a good balance of I'm a good listener, but I'm also a good storyteller, because people love to hear the latest scoop in my life. And I never fail to disappoint them, because there's always something dramatic happening, like whatever it is, like whether my kids or my partner, my businesses, whatever. And I'm one of those people that's always doing something, right? I've always got a million projects on the go. So it's entertaining, as well as I'm an educator, right? I'm constantly coaching people on how to style their hair, but also manage their lives a lot of time, because I'm one of those people that's super busy, but I can still get all the things done, like even putting my hair and makeup together. There's shortcuts.
Sharon, I've got your website open here, and you're the unstoppablestylist.com, but that isn't apparently advertising your salon. It's doing
because my salon is the Cat's Meow Salon. So I have a different website for that. And then I have Windrose Destinations, which is my for short-term rental properties. So within that, I have Windrose Suites, Windrose Studios, which is like to rent out a studio space where you can record a podcast, for instance, or do some videography. And I have short-term accommodations for tourists. And I do a lot of brides, because actually right next door to my salon and my motel is a huge church that has converted to a wedding venue. So they can stay in my place, and I can do their hair and makeup, and then they get married right next door. So it's actually there's everything sort of fits together nicely.
It is a bit like you're running a sort of a German car manufacturing factory, though, isn't it? Let's face it, Sharon. I mean, you get them into the hairdressing salon, and then you say, I think you should get married, right? Next door, you can do it next door. Oh, you got somewhere to consummate the marriage. Oh, I've got this these sweets for you. And we can videograph it, or we can do the video as well.
Well, actually, you know what? I do hair and makeup for a local boudoir photographer.
Brilliant. Oh well, I mean,
I think we're going down a rabbit hole that we don't want to continue.
So what are you guys going to do in the next 100 days with all this information I'm giving you?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, what people are sort of figuring out is that you have the sort of brain power and the sort of entrepreneurial spirit, whatever you want to call it, to have an interest in doing these different things and being able to sort of almost like swap from one thing to another. How is it? Where did you get that from?
Well, I think it started at a fairly young age, if I'm honest. I've always liked work. I've always enjoyed jobs. I've always made really good connections through work. I am an extrovert. I'm a people person. I get my energy through people. And that's why the pandemic was tough on me, because I wasn't spending time with my people. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's just a resiliency that you generate, I guess, as you go through the tough parts of life. And I did recently split from my ex-husband, who was my business partner in the food business. He was the chef. He was kind of that part of it. But I was like the machine that kept everything going all the time. And unfortunately, he struggled with addiction. And he was a lovely man, we still talk, and I have a million reasons to be angry with him, but I just can't be bothered. But because there's still lots of love there. But I just had to keep going. When he would fall apart, I just had to keep going. And that taught me a lot. And, prioritizing, because we had 2 kids together, and they're wonderful boys, and they've got an amazing work ethic. My parents taught me that. So there's lots of different places you build that, the whole of you. Like, we are not just single beings. We are the combination of so many factors and, influences and people in our lives. And I tend to absorb a lot of that and then throw back out there into the world. So, I'm somebody who's always picking up knowledge and always gathering experiences and then figuring out what I can do with it.
When we met, as you went forward to 3 or 4 days with Russell Brunson at the Funnel Hacking Live event in Orlando. I didn't stay for the whole event, although since then I kind of wish I had, but that's another story. For
next year, I've already got my tickets for next year.
Well, have you? Oh, well, we might well meet there. But basically, no. Or maybe I should crib your notes. But you probably didn't take any. Well, it's pretty.
I did. No, I take crazy notes. I'm a note.
All right.
I'm a list maker. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's almost a sickness how many lists I make. The notes app on my phone, and then I've got paper everywhere too, because I'm kind of old school and new school all at the same time, right? I'm pen and paper, but I'm also like, making notes on my phone.
I kind of like that. I don't tend to do too much in terms of using my phone for notes, but I would certainly take lots of notes. It's just my way. But as far as you would have picked things up at that event. I mean, is there anything in particular that you remember? You think, oh, blimey, I'm going to have to do something about that.
Oh, there was lots of things, and I did take steps forward from that event, of course, because it's a sales event, right? It's a marketing event, and they're quite transparent that you're going to be sold to, and they tell you the path that they want to take you on, and they have all the sales techniques and tactics to get you there, to move you to action. And I knew that going in. That it actually appeals to me. I like being in action, and I like the transparency of that. And it's a super fun event. It's almost like a rock concert for entrepreneurs. And yet they give back so much to the community. It does feel like a real family community. And even, their whole big thing is this 2 comma club, right? Which means you got 2 commas in your paycheck. So you earned $1 million through a single funnel. And it's a real goal to aspire to. But as entrepreneurs, we are so guilty of we hit a goal and we don't even celebrate. We just move on to the next thing and to the next thing and to the next thing. And entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And often we're solo entrepreneurs, and our families don't understand our drive and our, a bit of an insanity. And they talk about the 1% crazy there. And so this 2 comma club is a really good goal. But, Russell had hit that a few times, and he thought, there's no reward. Like sometimes when I got $1 million on a funnel, I just went, yay, in my office. I was all by myself, right? So there was just that thing. So he ends up presenting these awards, and over almost 2,000 people have got these awards now. And it's like the Oscars, for entrepreneurs. And some people have 10x'd it. Some people have given $1 million back in charitable donations. It's an incredible feeling, and they definitely move you. And they want you to get in action, because that's the only way you're going to get results.
But it's as I understand it, it's the 2 comma club. So that means $1 million is from one single funnel, which that's you might have several funnels.
Yes.
So to actually generate $1 million from one funnel is an amazing result. And I would imagine for a lot of the newbie users of ClickFunnels, it's a fair bit of work to get there, but that's the whole idea, isn't it? You go through that work towards a goal.
And they very much talk about this is the way. And they've had all kinds of funnels. They've done, and even Russell shows how many funnels he built, it's hundreds before he hit the one funnel. And he talks about you're only one funnel away. You're just one funnel away. But he said, I didn't say your first funnel was going to get you there, but you're still only one funnel away. And you just don't know until you go through that process. Sure. You can sit there and daydream about it and imagine it all you want, but until you do the work and get in action, it's not going to happen. And I'm a doer, so that really, it suits me just fine.
At the sort of front end of your funnel, the kind of people that you're, Dan Kennedy talks about message, market, and media. At the sort of front end of your funnel, the sort of the market, let's just say, who are you? I mean, if you just take the Unstoppable Stylist, who is in that sort of group that you're looking to actually target?
So, I say stylist, but I am sort of geared towards all beauty entrepreneurs, because it is an industry in itself. Sure. But I'm looking at independent people, first of all, who have some autonomy in making decisions for their company, right? So it could be a solo hairstylist who works in a suite. It could be a salon owner, but I want the decision makers, right? Because I can make decisions very quickly. And I want to teach you how to do that as well, because you have to in business and you have to in life. I mean, there's lots of things that happen where quick decisions are essential. And it's a really good skill to learn. And people get paralyzed. And I do too. I'm not saying I don't. You get paralyzed by indecision. And, so I want people who are wanting to grow their business, get to a certain level financially so that they can style a life they love. And that is different for every person, right? Your threshold for finances might be, $100,000 a year, a six-figure stylist, that might be good. And that might be gross revenue. That might be net, right? To have the lifestyle that you want. And obviously, once you get to that level, I always say every level has a new devil, right? You're usually wanting to move up to the next one. And I've been through so many levels in my career and up and down and everything else that I can help navigate that for just about any beauty entrepreneur who wants to grow. Yeah. Right. We're in the business of change. I always say nobody likes change like a hairdresser. Can't be in the business of promoting it if you aren't willing to embrace it.
You don't put a geographical boundary around that, because presumably some of the people who are beauty entrepreneurs in this country, in the United Kingdom, might be your market as well.
Oh, for sure. Mostly English speaking,
Sure.
The UK, Australia, Canada, and the US for sure.
Do they actually speak English in Australia? I mean, it's debate. We have had guests from there, but they usually take a course.
I think it's adorable.
And I
love accents.
They are, but no, they're lovely people. We had Holly Smith, didn't we, Kevin, not so long ago? And Holly she's just amazing.
And we didn't need subtitles for the Australian accent at the bottom of the videos.
We closed captions is actually what they're called, Kevin. But no, we did. But no, anybody's watching this from Australia,
I always tease
we love you.
My mom and dad are from England, right? They came to Canada. And I always tease them because now they've been in Canada for longer than they ever lived in England. But I say, drop the phony accent. Nobody's buying it anymore. But when they go back to England, everyone says to them, "Oh, you sound American."
Yeah, no, I know. It's awful for people who do that. My brother lives in the Midlands, and he's picked up a sort of outside of Birmingham twang, and it drives me nuts. I mean,
even in the whole of England, there's so many different accents, right? It's such a small country.
Absolutely.
I know, but it's. I mean, if I lived up near Newcastle, I'd be saying "away the lads" and things like that. But I suspect I'll be long gone before that happens. Anyway,
for some of the podcast guests I've got lined up for you, Graham, you're going to have to.
Oh, I know. It's what Kevin does is he lines people up who happen to support the same football team that he does. But me, on the other hand, I'm interested in the guests and all the things that they bring. And you bring.
And when you say football, you mean soccer, right?
Yes, I mean soccer.
Yes, absolutely.
But actually, Leeds United have
played with the foot.
Yeah,
I know it actually makes way more sense. I'm with you guys on that.
No, it does. Anyway, so and there's a World Cup coming, a proper World Cup, not one that's just in America, but basically a proper World Cup coming up, starting next week, actually. Sunday, starting on Sunday. So by the time this podcast goes up, there's probably going to be a winner of the World Cup. But don't know who that's going to be. Well done, England, by the way. Yes. But yeah, okay. So anyway, moving back to you, beauty entrepreneurship. Are you just going to disaggregate the kind of things that you know that they might want to look at, and then you'll help them with that?
Exactly. Like I'll meet them where they're at, right? So they may be a brand new stylist that's thinking about daydreaming about opening their own salon. Well, I've opened many businesses, and I've decorated spaces and I've made them work and, that sort of thing. So I could help them with that. Plus I've done business plans and finances and dealt with lawyers and accountants and, engineers and all of those things. So I can meet them where they're at there. Or because I'll be 50 next year, right? So I'm starting to work towards exiting the daily grind of standing behind the chair. Yeah. I've mentored people. I've developed assistant training programs, school curriculum. So whatever kind of thing you want to do, chances are I've already done it and I can help you with that. So that's the thing. So I just meet them where they're at and help coach them through. And the whole idea of the unstoppable stylist, right, is it's got to be your mindset first. And I know that gets thrown around a lot, but I know that to be true, that if your head is not in the game, you're not going to perform well. And for us, we're on stage all the time with our clients, and you have to a lot of us absorb all the energy from our clients as well, but we have to go in with our face done. And when I was going through the hardest times in my life, the salon was my saving grace because I had to do my hair. I had to do my makeup. I had to show up no matter what. I couldn't even afford to cancel at that point with anyone, even if I wanted to stay in bed all day. And by the time I was there, and got working with people and serving them and taking care of them, my problems didn't seem so bad anymore. And because I'm in that sacred space of a salon where people will share, because I was open and vulnerable sometimes, they shared theirs. And so you really realize you're not alone in your human experience. We all have.
So was it at that time, it was just a cry fest, was it? I mean, she was blubbering all the way.
No, it was a lot of actually laughing, because that is actually my coping mechanism. I don't like to cry.
No.
I find it gives me a headache. It makes my face all splotchy. Like, I don't like to cry. I like to laugh. So there was lots of discussion about homicide. That one came up a lot, actually, right?
Yeah. I should imagine there still is, because you mentioned your partner kills people for a living.
Well, one of my clients, and I've been doing his hair for 24 years now, since before my oldest son was born. And he's like a world champion sharpshooter. Oh, and I said one day, how far can you shoot that thing anyway? Yeah. He's like, about a kilometer.
The FBI look at this, by the way. The FBI will be watching this, and they
always get your computer. But I was like, well, how are you with moving targets? And he's like, I never shoot a man. And I said, who said anything about you shooting? You just need to aim and walk away, But we would just joke about that, because that was just our way of coping and still serving people and making them laugh. Like, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. That is not my goal in the salon. I want to uplift people. So in doing that for other people, I was able to do it for myself as well.
If you don't want to be a Debbie Downer, then you don't want to go to Newcastle, because they're all a bit like that up there, aren't they, Kevin?
My mom and dad are from Chingford. I'm not even sure where that is.
Oh my God. Why did we missed that one? I'm not sure you mentioned that when we met, because that's a sort of a seam of opportunity from a annoying you point of view. But I'm an Essex girl. So anyway, but Kevin, they're not Debbie Downers in Newcastle, are they, Kevin?
No, that's Leeds, Greg.
No. Well, neither but no. Anyway, so moving swiftly along, it's not just about beauty entrepreneurs, though, or is that? Do you see that as being your main thing going forward?
The Unstoppable Stylist, my main thing. Yeah, but I would like to blend them seamlessly together, and if I can, because I have these beautiful old buildings. I have the salon, and 2024 will be my 20th anniversary in the salon, so I'm actually planning a big reno. Right. And I have these motel units, right? These 4 separate units, and so I could easily have a retreat. Where I trained hairstylists, right? But I do want to do the online coaching, because I know that's the way of the future, and our bodies. There's not that many like 65-year-old hairdressers if you look around, right? Because it's people don't realize how difficult it is to stand behind a chair for 10 hours a day and have your arms up in the air. And
I guess the interesting thing here, Sharon, is that the average salon owner or even prospective owner knows an awful lot about stylist, knows an awful lot about how to make people look good, but along with learning those skills, you don't often learn how to run a business.
No, they don't teach it in school.
The thing you're bringing here that I'm finding really interesting is not just having run that sort of business, but having run other hospitality businesses, and also being really into the world of online marketing and learning things at conferences and so on, because I just think there is so much there that is transferable into that niche of stylist business.
100%. I mean, funnels versus websites, for instance, and we're talk a lot in the salon about the customer journey, because they meet us, especially now with social media, they meet us before we even have them sit in our chair, right? And there's what you do to attract those clientele, building a brand. Before that's actually the first step of my pillars, is build your brand, right? And figure out who you are and who you want to serve. Then you attract those dream clients. And there's lots of steps on how to do that. And that could be through local marketing as well as online marketing.
Yeah.
And then there's like retain raving fans. So once you get them in your chair, how do you keep them and nurture them and have the same clients for 20 years, right? And then it's earn more money, because how do you, once you get the rhythm down, then you start, there's profits, right? And then there's revenue, and they're not the same thing. And a lot of people don't understand that. It's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep at the end of it, right? And then I go into how to save time and save money, because your time standards are very important. And always looking for ways to grow sales and cut expenses. And then there's create a lasting legacy, right? So an impact on the world beyond your chair, right? So I walk them through that whole process. And it comes down to mindset. It comes down to messaging, the story that you're telling the world and yourself, right? And then the methods that you need to employ to get there, right? It's just those 3 simple steps to get through that, from building your brand to exiting your business.
How many people that you will have as clients will be females? And how many might be males?
I've never really run those numbers, but it's probably 80-20, I would say. Right. And that has changed over the years, because now I tend to want to work with the women more. I don't tend to market to the men the way I used to, because generally speaking, you do end up, your career evolves just as we grow up. Our career grows up with us. Our clients grow up with us. And, you lose 1 out of 5 clients through no fault of your own. That's just the natural attrition rate. They move, they die, their daughter's sister, whatever it is, starts doing hair, whatever, or their budget changes. That might be it, because your income is, your expertise and your demand on your time, because we trade time for money. Your demand on your time goes up. So you raise your prices. And of course, it's just inflation, but people's budgets might change too. That's 1 out of 5 through no fault of your own. And then there's the ones you just don't jive with for whatever reason, right? But you always need to keep 2 new ones on your books if you want to grow. Yeah. Right. So it used to be sort of fashionable for stylists to put on their Instagram and, I'm closing my books, I'm not accepting any new clients. And I was like, ooh, I would not do that unless you're ready to exit. Yeah. Right. Because all of a sudden, you think you're too busy and booked, but things happen. You lose 1 out of 5 through no fault of your own. Right. So what happens?
I think that's a lesson that transfers across so many businesses. You might be full up at the moment, but the time you want to start marketing for your next client is not the time that you've got a vacancy, because there's always a lead time. And you've got to let people get to know you, get to form a relationship before they'll buy. So
and that's why being in the local community helps, and as well as your social media strategy. I mean, all of that is part of it. And as small business owners, we are trying to wear so many hats, and frankly, it messes with our hair, is what I say. All these hats that we have to wear, but it's just it's a lot, and it can get very overwhelming, and it is hard work, and people can be very demanding and draining and whatever. And they can also be very giving and generous. Like I tend to attract those kind of people because that's how I am. But, these things happen, right? So you just don't really, and then there's the normal upsets of life that happen, right? And then the pandemic came and ripped the rug right out from underneath us, because I was closed for 8 months. Right. So if I did not have those foundations in place, it would have been very difficult. Lots of salons closed during that time. Right. They gave up because they're like, this is too hard. I'm just going to go get a job that.
But you're obviously quite good at what you do, because basically on your website, you have some love letters. And one of them, believe it or not, is from the Vice President of the United States, a certain Kamala H. So, and she says about you that you can honestly say that that is one of the best people I've had in my life. So it's not Joe Biden, it's you. Or have I got the wrong Kamala H? It might have been.
You've got the wrong Camilla H. But those are meaningful things that I do get to hear all the time. And I am a person who likes to build lifelong relationships and friendships. And I am one of those people who I show up, and if I book with you, I'm going to show up. Like, I'm not one of those people that commits to something and then makes a million excuses to get out of it. I'm there. I'm there. And I think there is somewhere on my website that says, anybody who knows me knows I have a lot of projects on the go all the time. But anybody who loves me knows I would drop those projects to help them at any moment, right?
Wow.
So
That's nice.
yeah, and somebody said that to me once, and that always stuck with me because I am that person, right? I am just someone who loves people, right? And I want to keep
and you're still in your 40s. You're an amazing person. What can I say? Mind, she's probably lying about that, Kevin. I don't know about that.
Because you know what? If you're going to lie about your age, you should say you're older, so people think, "Damn, you look good," right? If you're going to say you look younger, you'll think, "Oh, she's not holding up so well." So no, I'll be 50 on March 29th. I just turned 49.
Wow.
So you see, Graham, earlier when you claimed to be 40, you should have claimed to be 70.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't go down. Go up. Don't go down.
No. I can't possibly do that. I can't possibly do that. No.
Well, I know my kids both just had their birthdays. Their birthdays were the 29th and 31st of October. Yeah. And they just turned 19 and 23. And I thought, oh my God, I must have been a teenager when I had you guys because I'm way too young to have these man cubs.
Yeah. But at the same time of the year as well. So that's obviously
I know that used to be a bit of a joke, actually.
Yeah, or you had a milkman that turned up at a certain time. That's maybe that's where the case. But no. Moving forward, then you will get people into your program. What do they get? I mean, they're going to come to you at different stages. How do you find out what stage they're at? Do you have some sort of assessment as they're coming in?
There are a few different ways to work with me, right? One of the things is just a one-on-one strategy call. So it's a 60-minute strategy call where we just get really clear on what your goals are, where you're at now and where you want to go, and then the steps to get to there. That's the way you get anywhere. And there may be some meandering along the way, but this is sort of the path.
Sure.
So people have to just get really clear on their goals. And a lot of people aren't. They're not clear on their goals. And clarity leads to total dysfunction. And you just can't move forward without some clarity. And it doesn't have to be your forever goal. It's just your next 100-day goal, maybe.
Love it. We've got the dibs and all of that. You can't just liberally use that.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to tie it back in here. But, they don't need to focus on 10 years out. And especially now after the pandemic, I'm finding people cannot plan their life too far ahead. It's just not working for people, right? No. So, we shift. And I like that energetic shift. When things happen, I'm not resistant to change. I guess I am in some ways, but I wear black every single day. Like even my pajamas are black. Yeah.
Really?
But that simplifies my life. It's kind of a little quirky thing I have. Yeah. And people are like, don't you get sick of it? I'm like, no, I never get sick of it. I never. I only wear black. Like,
isn't that the wrong color to wear in a salon? Isn't that the color?
It's the perfect. It is the perfect color to wear, actually. Yeah. Because if you wore pink or whatever, you slop some color on it, then you've ruined your shirt. But now you just. No, it's perfect color. But I kind of started that in high school, much to my mother's chagrin. She thought it was going to be a little punk, but
or a goth. Is it a goth that you were? You were a
goth. I wasn't though. I just like black.
If you go out for a dinner or something like, I mean, you're not prepared to wear a red dress or something like that or something.
No, red lipstick.
Really. I've seen the lipstick. I mean, you can't take your eyes off of it. I mean, it's there.
No, red hair. No, black just shows off my porcelain skin, my red hair, my red lips. That's all I need. That's all I need.
Yeah. No,
and earrings.
It is you, and I suppose it's a sort of a branding thing as well, isn't it? I mean,
signature look.
Your signature look. So, I mean, everywhere you go, you've got that kind of you look like you're in mourning. Is that the signature look?
Well, that was one of the jokes. When I was
sorry for recycling the obvious.
I'm like, well, if I was wearing black, I might as well be in mourning, right? Like that was.
I go back on what I said. I think you might be a good Newcastle United fan. I think that'll go down quite well. But okay. So you get them in, you find out, you have that strategy call, and then
they can do private coaching. I do. Right.
Okay.
I have a group coaching program. I have private coaching. I have DIY courses.
Okay.
I have lots of free resources because I also have a podcast, the Unstoppable Stylist podcast.
Oh, wow.
And I also offer lots of PDFs and guides and that sort of stuff. Starting a YouTube channel soon, just trying to get the studio renovated in the next couple months.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways to work with me, and there's lots of ways I can work with them as well. And so, I have my 6 pillars, right? The build your brand. And even if you've been in business for 20 years, like I'm going to be going through a rebrand soon. I'll still be the Cat's Meow Salon, but I've had the same logo. Like, honestly, I created that logo when I was in hairdressing school, like a million years ago. And the name. And 10 years after hairdressing school, I opened that salon using that logo.
Wow.
Right. So, and I had no idea when I did it. I just thought that was kind of cutesy, because how you look and how you feel are so closely linked, like inextricably linked, that, it made sense when I say I help you look and feel like the cat's meow, because it's not just a look thing. It's how I make people feel as well. And that's why they keep coming back, right? Because I make them feel good.
I don't know about you, Kevin, but all you have to do is spend a little bit of time in Sharon's company and you feel better.
You do.
It's.
Yes.
I think you're missing a trick. There's probably, a health benefit. I mean, a lot of people suffering. I mean, mental health and all that kind of stuff. I mean, all kinds of, I could get into stuff that I shouldn't do, but basically, people with mental health, why don't you just offer your services? Let's just talk about styling for a bit.
It's part of it, because the mindset piece is a big piece, right?
Right.
And it's always there. And it's not like you start with mindset and then you get over it and you move on to the next thing. It's like, no, it's interwoven through the whole thing, because you're going to have your good days and your bad days. And honestly, like, I'm part of this 2CCX, 2 Comma Club X coaching program. And we actually have an accountability call every day at 8 a.m. for me.
Wow.
And every single day. And at first I thought, oh God, like, this is going to be a waste of my time. But I'm like, Sharon, you're showing up, because I'm the kind of person, once I commit, I show up. And I love this group now. We're so helpful. And I was actually having a bit of a tough morning. I was feeling a little bit fragile. And I expressed my vulnerability on the call, just saying, today I can't do a lot of work, but beyond the salon and this podcast episode. And they were cheering me on for being on this podcast.
You told them about our podcast.
I 100% did.
Oh, well, we've
There's another half
made
dozen guests, Graham. That should be a good one.
I'm telling everybody.
Good.
So, so they all reached out to me. And then I actually had a quick Zoom call with one of the women who is a mindset coach, a miracle mindset coach is what she calls herself. And she just hopped on Zoom right immediately after a little accountability call and just gave me the little burst that I needed. And then I went and did my hair and makeup, and I feel so much better now.
Brilliant.
But it's just those small shifts in your state of mind that make you feel unstoppable.
And
right?
you're right. There's a mindset thing about setting a business up in the first place and knowing you can do it. There's also, I think we touched on it briefly before when you were talking about Russell Brunson and celebrating the 2 comma success. But I think as entrepreneurs, business owners, whatever, we always have a target in mind, and there's always the next target. And somehow and I've heard this called the destination fallacy.
Yeah.
You never get to that destination. And you've got to change the mindset, I think, into celebrating the journey.
Oh, 100%. And, people, when I was going through some really hard times with my husband, because it got scary and it got messy, and I could have gone really deep and low. And I did go deep and low for myself, to my own personal threshold. But people used to say to me, because I would joke about lots of things. They're like, don't you ever get depressed? And I'd be like, I tried that once and I did not like it. So I am never doing that again. I'll learn from that. All right. And yet so many times we make the same mistakes over and over again. And I'm certainly, I talk a good talk and I walk a good walk, but I am very much a human being who has good days and bad days. But I'm getting better at recognizing them and then, fixing that mindset. And my recovery time is much faster now than it was before. And you've already survived 100% of your worst days. So you can do this, right? You can do hard things. And I think that people just need some love and shove, right? They need the heart-centered, wisdom of the old lady who's been there and done that. But they also need the shove, like, come on, get this done. Like, what are you waiting for? Life is short.
Wow. I mean, you are a true entrepreneur. You're a lovely, lovely person. I want to call you a friend. Because we've met, yes. and maybe meet again next year. Because if you've got your tickets already, I might.
I'm going, and I'm taking my colleague with me, Caitlin, who's my right hand. She's my right hand and my left hand. She's incredible.
So,
I drank the Kool-Aid, and now I feel like I'm spitting my Kool-Aid all over her, and I'm like, you need to come and go. Yeah. It's amazing.
Well, 5,000 plus people actually turned up for that event, which I don't know what the capacity is for next year, but it's going to be about the same, I would imagine. It's a huge amount of people, but they're all very similar in sense of having, dreams and all that kind of stuff, and very entrepreneurial people. It must have sparked so many conversations for you. I mean, certainly we had a conversation, but basically beyond that, with the funnel course, etc.
Oh, for sure. I'm all about connecting.
You were really at home at that point.
I loved every minute of it. I actually attended virtually last year. Okay. And because we weren't allowed to fly, right? Sure. So I had the ticket, and it was great. I knew it was great, but like I needed to be around the people. And so I was there. I went by myself this year. And my mission was to meet as many people as possible and remember their names. And when I saw them again, and actually they encouraged this at one point during the conference, they said, when you see somebody you've already met, you're not just like, oh, hey, you're hugging them. They're family now, you're like, and it really is that atmosphere. It's so great. And obviously Russell Brunson, he's brilliant, but he's such a kind person. And he says all the time, like, I don't care how much money you make. I know there is this 2 comma club that, it's all about the money. It's not all about the money. Because once you get to a certain threshold and you're liking your life the way it is, how much more money do you need? So then it's about the impact that you create. And that is my last pillar in my framework, is create lasting impact. And how are you going to give that back? And even though I had these steps, like from build your brand to attract dream clients, to retain raving fans, and on, that you're doing all of those things all at once, right? My whole thing is you can build an incredibly profitable business and style a life you love at the same time. You do not have to give up one for the other. And you shouldn't. You should be weaving that in, because you just can't have work-life balance. We're so intertwined in what we do. And, as a mom, that is a thing that we struggle with sometimes. You're like, I went back to work 2 weeks after my first baby was born and a month after the second one was born. And, I just was never a stay-at-home mom material. That was my choice. And, life necessitated that. But I don't really regret that. I don't think, I should have spent more time with my babies. No, my kids are incredible. I spend time with them, and they both live at home still. So it's like, we're spending lots of time together. But but I'm not a mom that coddles my kids either. I'm like, get at work, do something.
The thing about you, Sharon, is that I can't understand. I just don't understand why you're known as unstoppable. Maybe I'm missing something. All right, fair enough. But you are unstoppable, aren't you?
You know what? But you have to be careful, because the word unstoppable, if it's coming from the wrong energy, right? Yeah. And I'm not getting all woo-woo on you, but this is just facts. If it's coming from the wrong energy, it can mean like you're hustling, you can't stop, it's unrelenting, you've got to keep going. Oh my God, like that.
Yeah.
That's what unstoppable can mean. Or it can mean, when you're coming from a good place, I got this, I can get through this. Nothing is going to stop me from achieving the things that are important to me, that fill my cup and fill my soul. And that's where I want to come from. I'm definitely here some days, but I look at it as a menu. Like, what are the things I think, feel, and do when I'm feeling crappy, when I'm in that negative zone? Yeah. And then what are the things I think, feel, and do when I'm feeling creative and powerful? And then I just look at it like a menu, going back to the food analogy. I'm like, okay, I don't want to eat this today. I want to eat this. And so I just choose from, like, I don't want pizza. I want burgers, whatever, whatever's going to make you feel good.
Yeah. So well, you've made us feel good today on the Next 100 Days podcast.
Well, Greg, there was one overpowering thing came through that conversation for me, and that and it occurred so often: mindset.
Oh, very much. I there was just so much in that. I mean, and the Sharon's got this course. She's helping people in a very, 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 well, quite a large niche in a way, because effectively there are probably hundreds of thousands of stylists, beauty entrepreneurs in one way or another, right around the English speaking world. So there's a lot to choose from. So she could potentially easily niche down again when she's good and ready. But I have to say, it's just that unfailingly sort of positive choice that she makes. She could view things in this way, but she chooses to view things in this way. You know, she talked about her divorce and so forth, and getting back to work and not crying but laughing and stuff. It's a choice, and I think she's just great for your mental health. I mean, she'd be a great coach.
Absolutely. I think, listen back to that, and I think there's an awful lot to learn. And
Very much.
There was a song, wasn't there? Always look on the bright side of life.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Sharon's web page, if you want to find out more about her, is the unstoppableStylist.com. So it's the unstoppableStylist.com. You go onto that, and there's a whole bunch of stuff, including links to a podcast, but also some freebies, and just how I get in touch with her. So that would be how you would take it forward from this, particularly if you know somebody who's a stylist. And let's face it, if you're living in this country, you know somebody who's a stylist. So, and it might be somebody who can potentially really benefit from Sharon's expertise.
Yeah. So, Graham, do you need a stylist?
No. But possibly a clothes stylist or I don't know, but not really hair. Although I have thought, well, what about having a wig on, Kevin? Because I thought, someday if I came to an event somewhere with a wig and people didn't know me,
a wig. So Aerosmith's going to turn up in drag next.
No, I'm definitely not going to do that. But no, you can imagine, because live without hair for such a long time, then all of a sudden have some hair, and it makes you look, probably 10 years younger.
Yeah.
And you just think, is it worth it? But then I saw this picture of a guy at a football match, and the back of his wig was like blowing up. I don't think he was just looking at his phone, but the wig was literally coming off his head. And obviously somebody behind him had taken this photo. And if that's not a great sort of a turn off, if you see that, there's no way you're going to wear a wig, because all you need is I'm not even sure if it wasn't at your football ground as well. I think it was an away support, but where you put your away fans in Newcastle, you might as well put them in the air.
They are so far away. I'd like to give them a great view of Tyneside from the top of the stand. You can see 25 miles from level 7 in the league.
You can't see the pitch though. But anyway, that's another story. Kevin, it's been a brilliant podcast with Sharon Huckle, and we wish her well. Today I've been Graham Arrowsmith.
And today I've been Kevin Appleby. Goodbye.
Goodbye.